आयोज्यते। अहं सर्वेषां हार्दं स्वागतं करिष्यामि। अहं योगिता अस्य कार्यक्रमस्य सञ्चालिका अस्मि। अत्र अस्माकं चिन्तनं भविष्यति कथं संस्कृतभाषा या अतीव वैज्ञानिकव्यवस्थिता युक्ता अस्ति आधुनिककाले कृत्रिमबुद्ध्या सह मिलित्वा नूतनं ज्ञानं प्रसूयात्। विद्वांसः अतिथयः च अस्माकं मध्ये सन्निहितः सन्ति। ते सर्वेभ्यः स्वीयं दृष्टिकोणं प्रकटिष्यन्ति। अस्माकं मध्ये प्रोफेसर एस नवीन कुमार नवानी भारतीय प्रौद्योगिकी संस्थानं रूर्क्या शैक्षणिककर्मसु डीनः अस्ति। विभागीय शैक्षणिक कर्म कार्यक्रम समिते अध्यक्षः च संस्थागत मानव नीति समिते अपि अध्यक्षः। सः जैव प्रौद्योगिकी विभागे सहयोगी आचार्यः यः नैनोबायोटेक्नोलॉजी जैव संवेदिक तंत्रे कृत्रिम जीवशास्त्र प्रोबायोटिक शोधेषु प्रवीणः। सः संस्थायाम् अकादमिक शासनस्य प्रशोधनम् अन्तर्विषय अनुसन्धानस्य च संवर्धनं कुर्वन् महत्वपूर्णं योगदानं दत्तवान्। अतः विनयपूर्वकं तम् आमन्त्रयामः यत् सविचारान् अस्मान् प्रति प्रकटयतु। Handing over to Professor Naveen Kumar Navani sir.
You are muted, Professor Navani. You are muted, sorry.
Can you hear me now?
No, it seems you are unmuted.
We can hear you. We can hear you well.
We can hear you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Adaniya Abhishek ji, CEO India AI, DG NIC, Professor Varakhedi ji, Professor Kulkarni, Professor Goyal, Professor Maheshwari ji, Professor Nag, Professor Bhattacharya, and my dear colleague, Professor Gauri Shetty. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to Pragyotsav 2025 Annual Sanskrit Week celebrations at IIT Roorkee. This year's theme, Sanskrit and AI, harnessing computational tools to enrich Bharat's languages, culture, and heritage, is both timely and inspiring. It brings together two words, the timeless wisdom of Sanskrit and transformative power of artificial intelligence. And that is where I think it's a very special day for us to celebrate this week. In line with National Education Policy 2020, IIT Roorkee, at IIT Roorkee, we have already taken some important steps in this direction. Through our initiative on IKS, Indian Knowledge Systems, we have set up a Center for Indian Knowledge Systems, which is envisioned as a hub for research, training, and outreach. The center encourages meaningful dialogue between traditional and the modern, whether in linguistics, philosophy, mathematics, architecture, or medicine. Our efforts so far show that Sanskrit is not just a language of history, but also a language of innovation and discovery. We have also introduced open elective course on Sanskrit-based knowledge systems. Again, thanks to Professor Gauri Shetty's untiring efforts that we have had tremendous amount of success in this course. The course draws students from various disciplines of the institute, whether it is engineering, whether it is sciences disciplines or humanities. All research scholars and scientists, they come together to explore India's intellectual heritage. Dear friends, the relevance of our theme becomes even clearer when we look at the rapid advances in artificial intelligence. Today, AI is reshaping the way we interact with languages, archives, and knowledge systems. At IIT Roorkee, we see this as an opportunity to use AI tools for Sanskrit and related knowledge domains. Imagine this, digitized manuscripts that are accessible to anyone and everyone in the world. AI-powered translation that makes ancient texts understandable across languages, semantic search engines for Vedic literature, and natural language processing that works seamlessly with Sanskrit grammar. These are not distant dreams. These are possibilities which are within our reach. Looking to the future, our vision is ambitious. We want our land to be leader in bringing together traditional wisdom and future technologies. We want to create platforms where Sanskrit texts converse with AI models, where Ayurveda and yoga are enriched by computational tools for healthcare, where ancient mathematical treatises inspire new algorithms, and where Indian philosophy provides ethical guidance for responsible use of AI. This is not about the nostalgia. It is about building the future. with roots in our culture and wings in the technology. That is why Pragyotsav is more than just a cultural event. It is a declaration of our intent, a commitment to nurture generation that is equally at ease with Panini's grammar as it is with the Python coding, with Shastra and with science. So today, as we celebrate Sanskrit, let us also imagine its role in shaping the knowledge systems of tomorrow. Let us work together to preserve, promote, and innovate for a stronger, culturally rooted, and technologically advanced Bharat. With these thoughts, I welcome you all once again to Pragyotsav 2025. Dhanyavad. Thank you.
धन्यवाद धन्यवादः महोदय। अस्माकं मध्ये श्री अभिषेक सिंह महोदय अस्ति। सः 1995 समये भारतीय प्रशासन सेवायाः अधिकृतः। अधुना मीटी इत्यस्य अतिरिक्त सचिवः तथा इंडिया एआई मिशन इत्यस्य मुख्य कार्यपालक अधिकारी अस्ति। सः भारतस्य कृत्रिम बुद्धि रणनीतिं प्रवारयितुं च कार्यान्वितुं च प्रधानं योगदानं दत्तवान्। तस्य दृष्टि जीपीयू आधारित आधार संरचना, मूल मॉडल निर्माणं, दत्तसंग्रह, कौशल विकासः, सुरक्षित शासनं च इत्येषु केन्द्रिता। सः भारतस्य भाषिक विविधता, प्रतिभा, डिजिटल परंपरा च उपयुज्य स्थानिक प्रसंगे आधारितान् कृत्रिम बुद्धि प्रणालीनां समावेशक विकासं प्रोत्साहयति। अतः अस्माभिः सह अस्य कार्यक्रमस्य सादरम् आमन्त्र्यते। हैंडिंग ओवर टू अभिषेक सिंह सर।
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Naveen, Professor Anil, my colleague Amitabh, all the faculty members from IIT Roorkee, students and Sanskrit champions. सर्वप्रथम तो मैं I wish मेरी संस्कृत I would have remembered from what I studied till class 8th. बट उस समय से हमने क्लास 8 तक संस्कृत पढ़ाई करी, बट उसके बाद द वे आवर एजुकेशन सिस्टम इज, it doesn't make it mandatory, and over a period of time we lose touch with Sanskrit. Though I could follow when the anchor was mentioning about my profile, or she was introducing the subject, I could understand it well. But spoken Sanskrit is something that I think we need to reacquire the skills. We need to go back to the roots and do that. In this regard, I would like to really congratulate IIT Roorkee, and especially Professor Anil Gaurishetty, who has been taking pioneering efforts through the Sanskrit Club to make Sanskrit popular, to make Sanskrit relevant in the present day and age. And I remember I heard about that course that was launched in by IIT Roorkee, the Subhashitam Sanskritam course, which has become very popular, and it's referred to at multiple places. And it also proves that if the right course is made with the right intent, there will be takers, there will be students who will be taking that. The new education policy, we are coming with the 3-language formula, and wherein very often we are debating whether 3-language formula means imposition of Hindi. But instead of that, if we can think of, can it be English, your mother tongue, and Sanskrit? If that kind of approach is done, then it will kind of bring together a very scientific way of learning, a scientific way of understanding languages and how they work. In fact, there have been so many brilliant computer scientists who have tried to say that how Sanskrit is one of the most scientific languages and how it can be used for cutting edge research in various fields. In fact, and the kind of initiative that IIT Roorkee has taken, it can really complement and add value to the research that's going on, to the effort that's going on for promoting Indian knowledge systems, for promoting Vedic mathematics, for promoting Ayurveda. So there's a lot of commonalities in all these efforts that we do. Sanskrit, as we know, is one of the most ancient languages. It from the way it radiates back to the Vedic period, and it kind of led to several interesting innovations and mathematical discoveries of those times. There are documented, we all know about Aryabhatta, and we all know about the zero and how India contributed to the number system, the decimal system. But there are many other proofs which are there, which our mathematicians like Ramanujam and all used, and they derived a lot of these concepts from understanding science, understanding mathematics, because of these foundations in Sanskrit. So in Ayurveda, it's well known how Sanskrit has been the primary language of Ayurveda, how the complex diseases, diagnosis, pathology, all of it can be done. It's all documented in many places. In fact, many of our ancient manuscripts also document the kind of knowledge that existed. So Sanskrit, studying Sanskrit and learning about Sanskrit, researching about Sanskrit is not only about learning a language, it's not only about reviving a language, it's more about rediscovering the strength that we had as a scientific society, understanding how research was something that was a prime focus in thousands of years ago, and how we can bring it back into our ethos. And especially when we look at the work which computational linguistics are doing today, there can be strong parallels being drawn for building AI models, for doing pattern recognition, for understanding algorithms. Sanskrit can play a big role. Government of India also has taken a lot of efforts, especially with regard to popularizing all Indian languages, and more so including Sanskrit. My colleague Amitabh is here, Amitabh Nag, who is driving the Bhashini project under the National Language Translation Mission, which is trying to develop tools which can help do seamless speech-to-speech translation, speech-to-text and text-to-text. And Sanskrit is part of the ecosystem under the National Language Translation Mission. And one of the efforts which is going on is to develop a seamless translation systems between Sanskrit and Hindi, Sanskrit and English, and Sanskrit and other Indian languages. Sanskrit Hindi, Sanskrit Tamil, and Sanskrit English and Hindi translation systems have been developed by University of Hyderabad under the Bhashini project. And there are other projects which are being taken up for ensuring that that an assistant tool is developed using the APIs which have been built for Sanskrit translation, so that those who are doing Ayurveda practice, they can read the Sanskrit documents seamlessly. It can become like you have the original text in Sanskrit, but even if you are not very adept at reading Sanskrit script, you can use these translation tools to read it in the language of your choice. Then again, there's a lot of effort which is going on. How do we ensure that our manuscripts, our Upanishads, our Veds, our Mahabharata, all of it can become can be translated by using these tools from Sanskrit to all Indian languages. Then, to make learning interesting, to make learning innovative, can we build quizzes, can we build tools with which interest will be generated among students? So just like other languages have lots of activities which helps people get attracted to it, can we have a Sanskrit tool on Duolingo? Can we kind of gamify learning Sanskrit? Can we ensure that at least 100 words every child knows? Simple sentences, 100 sentences can we identify, which we can translate, we can make readily available, so that in common experience terms, people will be able to speak Sanskrit. For promoting coding in Sanskrit, maybe we can think of launching a challenge on GitHub on coding using Sanskrit. So if we are able to think of some interesting things, and I'm sure Sanskrit Club, since you have been pioneering the efforts to popularizing Sanskrit, you have been taking these efforts for ensuring that more and more students try to understand Sanskrit as an official language, develop expertise in understanding it, speaking it, and also using it in various applications. Sanskrit Club can contribute a big way in this dimension. I will also call upon you to think of using Sanskrit and using Sanskrit-based code writing for developing some AI applications that we can showcase during the AI Impact Summit that we'll be hosting in February. So I would again congratulate the Sanskrit Club, IIT Roorkee, for taking this wonderful initiative of the Pragya Utsav, trying to bring Sanskrit back to focus, trying to make Sanskrit popular amongst the younger people, and think of some innovative ideas, whether we want to do a hackathon or whether we want to build a repository of Sanskrit words and Sanskrit phrases and Sanskrit sentences that we can make easily available, or whether we want to launch a coding challenge on GitHub or something by using Sanskrit as a coding language. So we can think of doing several interesting activities which ensures that the young people are excited about learning Sanskrit. So with these words, I'll compliment IIT Roorkee and Professor Gauri Shetty and the entire team for organizing this Pragya Utsav, and wish you all a great success, and maybe the panel discussion will again throw up some more interesting ideas. So thank you and Jai Hind.
धन्यवाद महोदय। अस्माकं मध्ये प्रोफेसर रक्षा शर्मा भारतीय प्रौद्योगिकी संस्थानं रूर्क्या संगणक अभियांत्रिकी विभागे सहायक आचार्य अपि अस्ति। सा प्राकृतिकभाषा प्रक्रिया, मशीन शिक्षणं, सूचना उद्धारणं चेष्टा कृता विशेषज्ञा अस्ति। सा IIT बॉम्बे संस्थात 2017 तमे वर्षे PhD उपाधिं प्राप्तवती। ततः पूर्वं टाटा रिसर्च डिज़ाइन एंड डेवलपमेंट सेंटर मध्ये अनुसंधान विज्ञानीरूपेण कार्यम् अपि अकरोत्। तस्या विषया वात्सल्यानुभाव विश्लेषणं क्षेत्र स्वरसिद्धि जैव वैज्ञानिक पाठखननं विषयेषु प्रवृत्ति अस्ति। सा प्रमुख NLP सम्मेलनानां समीक्षासभासु कार्यक्रमसमितिषु च सेवां करोति। सा एतत् कार्यक्रमं सञ्चालनं करिष्यति। अस्माकं मध्ये नूतनदिल्लीस्थितस्य केन्द्रीयसंस्कृतविश्वविद्यालयस्य कुलपतिं प्रोफेसर् श्रीनिवास वार्खेडी महोदय अस्ति। सः प्रायः 30 वर्षपर्यन्तं संस्कृतशास्त्रेषु भाषाविज्ञाने शैक्षणिकनेतृत्वे च समृद्धानुभवं सम्पादितवान्। पूर्वं सः भाषातन्त्रज्ञान अनुसन्धानकेन्द्रे अनुसन्धानसहायकः आसीत्, यत्र सः प्राकृतिकभाषाप्रक्रिया इत्यस्मिन् कार्यरतः आसीत्, यः संगणकशास्त्रस्य कृत्रिमबुद्धेः पाश्चात्यतर्कशास्त्रस्य संस्कृतशास्त्राणां च सङ्गमः अस्ति। सः सभाम् अध्यक्षतां करिष्यति। इदानीम् अहं सर्वेषां पैनल् सभ्यानां परिचयं करिष्यामि। प्रोफेसर् अर्नब भट्टाचार्यः भारतीय प्रौद्योगिकी संस्थाने कानपुरे संगणक अभियन्त्रण विभागे आचार्यः अस्ति। सः दत्तसञ्चय, दत्तखनन, सूचना अन्वेषण, प्राकृतिक भाषा प्रक्रिया, कृत्रिम बुद्धिक्षेत्रेषु विशेषज्ञः। यूसी सेंटा बार्बरा इत्यस्मात् PhD प्राप्तवान्। सः फण्डमेण्टल्स् ऑफ डेटाबेस इंडेक्सिंग एंड सर्चिंग इति ग्रन्थं लिखितवान्। तेन अन्तर्लेखक, काव्यभाषायि, छन्दोज्ञानं, छन्दः परिज्ञानाय च प्रणाल्यो विकसिते। सः संस्कृत प्रश्नोत्तरी प्रणालीम् आयुर्वेद संबंध संपदः च निर्माय भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा कृत्रिम बुद्ध्या सह समन्वयति। प्रोफेसर पवन गोयल भारतीय प्रौद्योगिकी संस्थान खड़गपुरे संगणक अभ्यन्तरण विभागे सहयोगी आचार्यः अस्ति। सः प्राकृतिक भाषा प्रक्रिया, पाठखननं, संस्कृत संगणक भाषा विज्ञानम् इत्येषु विशेषज्ञः। सः IIT कानपुरात् BTech पदवी, अल्स्टर विश्वविद्यालयात् PhD पदवी, INRIA पेरिस् इत्यस्मिन् उत्तरस्नातक अनुभवं च प्राप्तवान्। तेन संस्कृतशाला इत्याख्यं संस्कृत NLP अनुकूल उपकरणं विकसितम्। सः प्रमुखे AI NLP सम्मेलनेषु महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभृतवान्। प्राचीन भाषा अध्ययनम् आधुनिक कृत्रिम बुद्ध्या सह समन्वितुं सक्रियं प्रोत्साहनं दत्तवान्। अस्माकं मध्ये हैदराबाद विश्वविद्यालये संस्कृत अध्ययन विभागस्य अध्यक्षा आचार्य श्रीमती अम्बा कुलकर्णी सन्निहिताः। सः परम्परागतं पाणिनिनीत व्याकरणम् आधुनिक गणन भाषा शास्त्रेण संयोजयन्ति। संस्कृत गणित संगणक शास्त्रेषु पदव्या अनुप्रयुक्त भाषाशास्त्रे डॉक्टरेट च लब्धवत्यः। सा संसाधिनी इत्यस्य संस्कृत भाषा प्रक्रिया उपकरण समूहस्य नेतृत्वं कृत्वा यन्त्रानुवादे विश्लेषणे समास प्रक्रियायाम् अपि महान् योगदानं कृतवती। अस्माकं मध्ये भारतीय प्रबंध संस्थानम् इन्दोरे प्रचालन व्यवस्थापन परिमाण प्रयुक्ति क्षेत्रे सः आचार्यः डॉक्टर आदित्य महेश्वरी अपि सन्निहितः। सः भारतीयानां बहुसंस्थानिक सर्वकार समर्थित उपक्रमस्य सक्रियः सदस्यः अस्ति, यस्य लक्ष्यं भारतस्य भाषिक सांस्कृतिक विविध्याय अनुकूलितान् समावेशकान् बहुभाषिकान् बहुमाध्यमिकान् कृत्रिम बुद्धि आदर्शान् निर्मातुं। तस्य सहभागिता अधिकृत सूचिभिः कृत्रिम बुद्धि मूल्यांकन चर्चासभासु तस्य भाषणैः च प्रमाणीकृता। श्री अमिताभ नागः भाषिणी संस्थायां मुख्य कार्यपालक अधिकारी राष्ट्रीय भाषा भाषांतर मिशनस्य नेतृत्वं वहति। सः IT क्षेत्रे 30 वर्षाणि अनुभवन्ति। कोफोर्ज, HP, TCS इत्यादिषु नेतृत्वपदानि धारयित्वा अधुना कृत्रिमबुद्ध्या आधारित भाषांतर वाक्तन्त्रज्ञानानां विकासं प्रचलयति। तेन भारतस्य भाषिक विविधता सेतुना योज्यते। तस्य नेतृत्वे भाषिणी 22 अधिक भारतीय भाषासु समर्थ उपकरणानि निर्माय डिजिटल समावेशनं संवर्धयति। शासन सेवासु डिजिटल सेवासु च बहुभाषिक प्रवेशं सुलभं करोति। हैंडिंग ओवर टू प्रोफेसर रक्षा शर्मा मैम।
सभी को मेरा नमस्कार. So without much delay, I'll put first question is for Professor Arnab Bhattacharya. So sir, you have developed tools like Chando Gyanam for Sanskrit meter identification. In addition, you have developed resources for Ayurvedic scriptures. So how do you see these kind of computational tools can help to preserve and enrich other Indian knowledge systems beyond Sanskrit literature or Sanskrit processing?
Namaskar to all the panelists, all the members. So directly jumping into the answer. So what we have done is, so the Chandak Gyanam is essentially a computational tool to understand how the meter or the prosody of the Sanskrit slokas work. So we all say while we're discussing that I know this sloka is in Anushtup. Now, what does Anushtup actually mean? Not many people can understand. It's essentially a computational concept. There is this Laghu and Guru, and then there is a particular regular expression that it has to follow. So what we did as a tool is that given a slok, you can just paste it in that tool, or you can even just upload an image where if you get an image of a slok somewhere, it will analyze and it will tell you what chanda it is in. This is also very important in the sense that if there is a small mistake in the slok, for example, there is a typo and the chanda will not match, so it will also analyze and tell you that there is a mistake in this particular space because it is not matching the regular expression but for one mistake. And if you correct this mistake, it will fall into that chanda. So it has got, first of all, it's a learning tool. People who doesn't know about chanda, what is chanda, you can learn from the website, from the tool. You can just play around to see which chanda is in which tool. It can be also used computationally because while we're doing OCR or this automatic, see if you have a PDF and you're just reading the texts automatically, trying to get to digital format, then these mistakes, catching these mistakes and pointing out that there is a mistake here is very important. So this and the Ayurveda tool, I think you spoke about the Ayurveda tool, right? The Ayurveda tool, what we are trying to do is that we took one text and we manually annotated with help of a Ayurveda doctor who knows Sanskrit. We have manually annotated that entire book so that now these can be later on used for machine learning, training, etc. Saying if this is a what you call I mean, a technical text with its own jargon, then how to analyze this? This is beyond just Sanskrit literature. So, yeah, I'll just say that.
Sir, we wanted to know, like, in which other systems than Ayurvedic system or processing of Sanskrit for information extraction, in which other systems, in your opinion, the output of these tools can be used?
So, as I said, so this can help in building language models, of course, because finally this helps in decoding the language. The knowledge graph building tool. So Ayurveda, ultimately what we are trying to do is a knowledge graph. So if we can get a good handle of how to build knowledge graphs, that will be useful in all the technical texts that we have, not just in Ayurveda, but in any technical domain. Mathematics is of course there. So, and even for let's say just finding human relationships between in Puran or any text. So that way this is a good exercise. So it also, and we are trying to, as I said, trying to do it computationally now. Once you have some handle on how to do it manually, you know what is the ground truth correct, then we can use this for other cases.
Thank you, sir. So next question is from Professor Pavan Goyal. So your project Sanskrit Shala uses neural approaches to develop fundamental Sanskrit processing tools like pause tagger, sentence parser. Do you think these models are actually capable enough to capture the richness of Sanskrit grammar by their data-driven nature?
सबसे पहले मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा संस्कृत क्लब IIT रुड़की को और मुझे आमंत्रित करने के लिए प्रज्ञोत्सव में I'm happy to be amidst all the senior people here, and all the experts in Sanskrit, both in AI and the linguistic tradition. So talking about the Sanskrit Shala toolkit. So Sanskrit Shala is like an amalgamation of various models that we had developed over the years. So I remember since I joined at IIT Kharagpur as a faculty in the computer science department, I always wanted to do certain work using AI for processing Sanskrit language. So that time, even the data was, finding sufficient data for doing AI was difficult. But thankfully, I was in contact with so many linguist experts, including Professor Kulkarni, who is also here, Dr. Oliver Helwig from University of Heidelberg. So they had been working tirelessly on creating data. So I got help from them. For example, I got segmentation data from DCS corpus that Oliver Helwig had created. Similarly, I got compounding data and dependency data from Professor Kulkarni from University of Hyderabad that they had created. Now, once we had the data, I mean, it was all about developing AI tools, but because I mentioned my association with the linguistic experts also, I did not want to simply try a data-driven method without the linguistic insight. So all the approaches that we have developed, so starting our very first model that is not even part of Sanskrit Shala was based on a graph-based parser. So that would use the entire linguistic analysis of a Sanskrit sentence. So for that, I would use Professor Gerard Puett's Sanskrit heritage engine. So what I would do, given a Sanskrit sentence, I'll get all the analysis that is available with all the ambiguities, and I'll use AI to resolve the ambiguities. And this was the first major work that we had done, and we were able to publish in one of the top NLP forums like MNLP in 2018. Later on, so this was a graph-based model. Later on, when transformers came in, so we wanted to use transformers and more recent approaches for solving it, but not without linguistic insights. So all the models on segmentation, so segmentation, compound analysis, dependency parsing, that are part of Sanskrit Shala. So we had made use of complete linguistic analysis of the sentence. So for example, when we use segmentation using translist model, we will first pass the sentence through heritage engine from Professor Gerard Puett. We will get entire linguistic analysis, and this would be used. So we modified the attention matrix inside transform model so that we can focus on various linguistic analysis inside the sentence. And that's what we found gives much better performance and aligned to the final output compared to just using a data-driven model without this linguistic analysis. And same observation we found even for other methods for dependency parsing. So we used a multitask approach. We said, okay, we will also get the lemma. So we will also use the lemma morphological analysis while we are developing the dependency parsing. Same for compounding. So all the methods that we have developed, we found linguistic analysis to be at the forefront. So we found this is very helpful. Now, even beyond Sanskrit Shala. So recently, for example, I'm leading a consortium under Bhashini, so Dr. Amitabh Nag is here. So where we are working on 3 languages, Sanskrit, Kannada, and Hindi, and trying to make use of the linguistic insights, linguistic rules of Sanskrit to be able to get interpretable translation between Indian languages. So there, so Professor Arnab is also part of that consortium. So we developed Samanvaya where we were able to find commonalities across Indian languages, and that is what we are using. Now the question is, how do we use this? So in data-driven approaches. So one approach that we have been trying is using constraints. So we can incorporate constraints inside the models. Now there are multiple ways we can incorporate constraints. So one way we found we can explicitly encode constraints in our transformer decoders. So we can do a constraint decoding approach, or we can give constraints as instructions in our instruction fine-tuning models. So in one of our recent works that we tried to generate poetry in Sanskrit. So Professor Arnab mentioned about Anushtup meter. So we said, why can't we generate poetry in say Anushtup meter? So there you have the linguistic rules available to you. Now the question is, how do you incorporate? So we tried both the approaches. Maybe we can use the decoder to guide the regular expression that you have to generate, or we can give it an instruction to the model that this is how you generate Anushtup. So now you train the model, and it will try to follow the instructions. Right? So these are the two ways that we are currently targeting. So can we directly incorporate constraints, the linguistic constraints, or we can give it as instructions. So yeah, I think this is what I had to say about this question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Pawan. And I would like to mention that it is amazing to see papers on Sanskrit processing in top NLP conferences like EMNLP, as you mentioned. And I would like to congratulate and thank you for that. So next question is Professor Amba Kulkarni. So ma'am, one of your major contribution is Samsadhini Toolkit, which has integrated Paninian grammar with computational linguistics. So how do you see this fusion will remain significant, especially in the era where we are focusing on building large language models, which are language specific, again for Indian languages? So how do you see this kind of fusion will remain significant with the current technology and in future also?
Ma'am, you're muted.
Thank you for the question. Namaste Bhai. I am really honored to be a member of this panel where various experts in AI and Sanskrit are there, as mentioned by Professor Pawan Goyal. So the question that you have asked me regarding how this, whether we can have a fusion of the AI or the machine learning approaches and Panini's grammar formalism, and how we can use it or extend it for other Indian languages. So first, let me tell you that we started using Panini's grammar long back for various Indian languages. The work started at IIT Kanpur way back in late 80s. So the Panini's grammar is being used for Indian languages since long. What is important is it's as far as the Indian tradition is concerned, it's not just Panini's grammar, but also the theories of Shabda Bodha, which are important for understanding the two-way communication between speaker and a listener. The speakers, the theory, the how a speaker speaks, that is theorized in Panini's grammar, whereas how a listener understands what he has heard has been dealt in the theories of Shabdabodha. So both these theories, they together help in machine translation, because in machine translation we need to decode and encode both. Now, one of the major problem in machine translation is disambiguation. As Pawan also mentioned a little ago, that he used machine learning approach for deciding which solution is best among all possible solutions. Now, machine produces various possible solutions because machine does not have the knowledge of the compatibility between various analysis of the words. So, in Indian tradition, when they discuss about how one understands the meaning of a sentence, three factors are mentioned. One is akanksha, that is the expectancy. A word has expectancy for another word. Or then yogyata is the compatibility between the meanings. And the third factor is sannidhi, that is the togetherness or proximity. So these three factors help us in understanding the sentence. Now, akanksha and sannidhi, these are more syntactic in nature and we can implement them very easily. But the yogyata is, it requires a a lot of word knowledge, and therefore it is a bit difficult to implement it. As of now, we do not have good implementation as an expert system of Yogyata. Now, if we look at how we learn languages, uh, we learn a language in two different ways. One is informally, uh, looking at by observation, through observation, and the second one is through grammar, where formally we learn the language, the syntax, semantics, and other things. Now, it is the informal way, through observation, where machine learning approaches, that is what machine learning approaches are uh, doing. They just use the data, and through observation various patterns are observed, and machine learns from that one. But there are some limitations of this, and the limitations, uh, as um, uh, as we know very well, even in Indian tradition, when we say through observation a child learns, it is not any observation, but there are vakyas, that is the sentences which are uttered by a trustworthy person. So similarly here also, for machine learning, what we need to do is give trustworthy examples, gold data, and the definitely then the what machine learns will be far better than as a when we see the outputs of LLMs, chat GPT, or any other things for that matter, we see a lot of hallucinations. So those things we can avoid, provided we give a trustworthy data. And it's possible to have uh, a synergy between the expert systems that we have developed and the machine learning approaches, and the synergy between these two should give better results. And if we start with uh, Sanskrit as the pivot, uh, as there is already one project where Professor Pavan Goyal and Professor Arnab Bhattacharya and others are working towards it. So if we take Sanskrit as at the center and then develop various systems, definitely it is going to give us better results. So as of now, what I see is, as an expert system, still we lag behind as far as the uh, implementation of Yogyata is concerned, which needs knowledge of ontology, knowledge of taxonomy, then named entity recognition, and various other things. And but in order to develop these things, machine learning approaches will be suitable. So there should be a kind of synergy between machine learning approaches and expert systems, so that we can build better systems. And with Sanskrit at the center, we can we can a better system for other Indian languages as well. So this
Thank you
is
so much, ma'am. So next question is for Amitabh Nagji, CEO Bhashini. So Bhashini has enabled real-time translation across Indian languages. So what is your opinion on fitting Sanskrit into this ecosystem, especially when it has less conversational role in current time and more historical role?
Yeah, that's a very important, aspect of Sanskrit, because when we talk about Sanskrit, its historical importance overshadows the fact that it needs to be developed further and should be used in day-to-day life per se. So, that is, although in our, portfolio, because 22 languages include Sanskrit, and we were looking at constitutional, veracity of these languages to be part of our system. So Sanskrit is included, but the usage of Sanskrit in our system is not so high. And this is primarily because, from a conversational aspect, people are not using it so much. And one of the reasons for that, but there are multiple reasons for that. One is that, of course, as Additional Secretary pointed out, that we all perhaps learnt Sanskrit till the class 8, and then it was not, taken forward. So, although we can understand what was spoken when the entire session was introduced, we still are lacking the communication ability to speak out Sanskrit or even sometimes write Sanskrit, etc. What perhaps has to be done, and which perhaps we should take up as a project, is that look at a valid use case which can improve this particular usage. And from the cohort, what I could hear is Ayurveda or primary digital care through Ayurveda can be one such use case. If we build that as a use case and give it as a app, and which is on a conversational basis, then perhaps we are in a position to increase the usage per se for Sanskrit, because at the end of the day, we will be extracting information from the Sanskrit taxonomy, and but then also it is like we are giving something, we are not taking it back, we are not still inducing people to speak Sanskrit or read Sanskrit or understand. So obviously, when we are giving this knowledge, we will have to throw out the knowledge bank which is there in the manuscript and other places. And that is something which is actually lacking when, as a students or as people who were, studying Sanskrit, and historically, everybody says that, Sanskrit is a very rich language and our manuscripts contain a lot of things. Uh, Today's students or today's people, younger generation, haven't seen that actually. And can we have some kind of a program to make them actually experience that and read that, and or we create a chatbot through which things are asked and translated to them, that okay, and we keep the original language of Sanskrit. Our tendency which has been happening is that we tend to translate everything which is in Sanskrit and present the language in English or any other language. But if we keep the original document as it is and then try to build applications around it, perhaps it would have much more impact and people would realize the value of learning that and learning in that particular language. So we definitely looking at that, use case which can actually take this forward in that way. The second is, of course, the resources which we are looking at from both from the perspective of AI translation models or tools or the way the things are also, perhaps too scattered. And, different people have done different things. Actually, if you ask me, through the experience as implementation of Bhashini, we are finding that language resources of Indian language resources specifically are too scattered and are at multiple places. Although Bhashini is trying to bring that together, digitalize it, and put it there, I would encourage everyone to actually suggest a kind of platform which Bhashini can create, where the language resources are aggregated at one place, whatever research or whatever tools which are there in the open source are available. And even if the tools are not in open source, are in proprietary domain, are also available as information. So would welcome any suggestions to that effect. We'll welcome the use cases which we can start and work upon it. We are happy to look at innovation challenge or hackathon around it to make this work in some sense. So happy to follow this up after this thing, and then try to work together with a deadline that, in a month's time we will crystallize some kind of idea which we will take it forward, and then try to see that can we, make this popular in terms of conversational language as well as in terms of knowledge language as it should be, rather than a historical language which currently it is more known as.
Thank you so much, Amitabh ji, for this insight. So next question is for Dr. Aditya Maheshwari. So as part of Bharat Gen, you are already working on building multilingual AI models for Indian languages. So in your opinion, can Sanskrit dataset be used making these AI models more representative and culturally rich? And how Sanskrit Club IIT Roorkee can contribute in providing or generating more data set for these models?
Yeah, thank you for it. And the answer to your question is simply yes. More data means more cultural representativeness. And when you look at what kind of data is available in Sanskrit is huge and it is untapped, starting from the manuscripts to the published books, which are not yet digitized in OCR. And usually when we talk about Sanskrit, people relate it to traditional things and all those things. But I think the non-dharmic literature of Sanskrit is huge, and which has a huge potential to give a very rich cultural diversity to the large language models. And across the traditions of the country, there are several vernacular language which are inspired by Sanskrit sayings, like many of the Kabir Dohas, many of the Dohas which are there in the Niti Shatakam has been translated in a local dialect in several places. So definitely the language corpora that is ready for LLM training is very, very low currently in the Sanskrit, including all vernacular languages in India. Only I think Hindi is little bit represented vis-a-vis global languages like English and others. So we certainly need more work in this regard. What Sanskrit Cell can do here is to, we were already in talks, Professor Anil is in talks with us, with Bharat Gen, how to get Sanskrit data from Uttarakhand. And Sanskrit Cell can create these kind of platforms where these kinds of talks can happen. We can have some focused workshops on, Sanskrit Cell can have focused workshops on how to take existing data, how to pool the data into sort of a data pool. And at Bharat Gen, we call it Bharat Data Sagar. So as a country also, including Sanskrit Cell, can help us create some of the platforms where we can have these facilities to translate the data that is already available into a trainable format.
Thank you so much, Professor Aditya. So one more question from you in this in continuation. So from a management and strategy perspective, what partnership between academia, industry and government are most crucial to scale Sanskrit AI initiatives in India?
Yes, I'll start with some of the anecdotes of our work. I'm also have a team which are actively looking to acquire data on it. So starting from the academia, there are several Sanskrit universities in the country. Professor Varakhedi is there, he's part of associated with it. So we have partnered with Panini Sanskrit University in Ujjain to get the Sanskrit data. And apart from all different multilingual data which we are looking forward, we are partnering for that in our local region and the nation across. So second thing I would like to add is that there are several institutions in our country which are dealing with manuscripts. So National Manuscript Missions, we are in talk with Heritage Foundation. So identifying these organizations in different walks of life, particularly are dedicated with Sanskrit, whether it is traditional universities, modern universities, individual institutions dedicated to the preservation of it. An important part of this ecosystem is connecting to our traditional Gurukulas. So where these languages are being used very often. So those are very important, and where the scholars are being created in this Gurukulas. And there are many Gurukulas running across the country which are still having a lots and lots of data and insights, not only data, but also insights of how these languages can be used. So in this one of the other organization that we are in talk is CIAL, Central Institute of Indian Languages. Though they don't deal with Sanskrit, but several kind of recipes can be found out that how to have similarities between different languages and how to connect with them. So and creating more and more platforms, awareness about the need. So in this regard, I have this two point of view that people in the scholar community talk about, say ICAS, Indian Knowledge System for AI, and AI for ICAS. So what we can, so this is one point of view that how Sanskrit and other Indian knowledge systems will improve existing AI systems, where the panel members sitting here are constantly working, be it how to get word association or concept association, Panini Vyakaran, and so on. Other aspect is how to use AI to improve our Indian knowledge system. In both of the so conversation and people who are working in both fronts, I strongly believe that in both of the scenarios, in both of the cases, people are working. So bringing them to the table, having a conversation, creating some platforms where workshops can happen. We can convince the traditional scholars, people who are working in Gurukulas, people who are scholars, to have a synergy. Usually, and one thing that I observed is that people who are at this end of a spectrum, those who are passionate about Sanskrit, but working in a modern institutions like IITs and other institute of national importance, they are going forward and taking an extra step to reach out to traditional schools. When I say modern schools, so Central University, Sanskrit University, I also categorize as modern schools of Sanskrit. But where I feel one lack is that our modern and our traditional scholars, Gurukulas, are not reaching for a handshake to this modern platforms. And I try to raise this voice in traditional places also, but I guess they are too immersed in their own traditional thing, and they feel that means this is my opinion, need not to be generalized. They don't feel the need to be modern, and they are too immersed and with lack of say a good word, they are too proud to be traditional than to have a modern handshake. So that is what I, in my opinion, is restricting this synergy. We'll try to break out this synergy. We'll try to break down these uh, mm, attitudes, and by having this good handshake, and if that thing is gone, I think a lot of good work can proceed in this manner. And we can see in other parts of the world where these kind of things, the modern versus ancient, is not there. There are free flow of information, thoughts, intellectual work, and both sides flow in a good manner. Both the world leads into in a correct direction, and we leap forward. So, means to restate what I said, that I have seen several panel discussions about people who are trained, who are PhDs, trained in India and abroad, talking about Indian knowledge systems. I have seen very few or almost none of traditional scholars talking to these model trained that, oh, you are worried about IKS. We also want to know. about the modern methods and what to integrate into tradition. I think if this thing is broken and if this ice is broken, then we have a long way to go.
Thank you, Professor Aditya. So next question is from Professor Arnab Bhattacharya again. So your team has developed a Sanskrit question answering system. I believe Professor Arnab is there and listening me.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Okay. So your team has developed Sanskrit question answering systems using knowledge graphs. What were the Sanskrit specific challenges or relaxation you witnessed while developing these question answering system in comparison to generic question answering system? And did you find that AI techniques were capable enough to address these challenges better than human?
All right. So let me answer it in two parts. The first thing is the challenges of trying to build a question answering system for Sanskrit. The standard way of doing, at least for English, is to try and build a. I mean, there are multiple ways. One of the ways is to try and build a what we call a knowledge graph out of it, and then use that to answer the questions. We took that route. We wanted to build a knowledge graph out of the text, and that building it was problematic because Sanskrit, of course, has a lot of sandhi and samas, but more importantly, Sanskrit as a language uses lots of grammar rules and what we call general knowledge to understand to understand things. For example, the word, if I say Dasharathi, I mean, as an Indian, probably all of us understand who we are referring to. But as far as my knowledge goes, in nowhere it is written that Dasharathi is equal to Ram. We just know it because we understand the Sanskrit that the word Dasharathi is from Dasharath plus a pratyay that indicates that it's a son of Dasharath, etc. And this is being used all over Sanskrit. In English, this is generally not so. So English is very explicit that way, and Sanskrit is very. You have to know the language. So to build a knowledge graph that has to encode this explicitly was a problem. So what we did is, therefore, we did a lot of hand written, so manual annotation, etc. But now, having said that, what I find now in the recent years is this ChatGPT, etc., does a fantastic job of answering some of the questions. May not be all, but it does a good job of answering some of the questions. So we wanted to dig deeper that how is it possible? And we saw that it does answer all the questions, but it does also a lot of hallucination, as Professor Amba, Madam was mentioning. So when you get a ChatGPT answer, this may be right or this may be very wrong. So that is a problem. So you cannot really believe it. It's still an enigma, and I think Professor Pawan Goyal and others are there. It's still an enigma that how it does well and many of the things. What I have found out personally is that using a what we call a retrieval augmented generation RAG kind of system, where it actually, if the question contains Dasharathi, it will search Dasharathi in the background. It will find out all the passages that contain Dasharathi and then try to form a natural language answer using that. That mechanism actually works very well now. So instead of building an explicit knowledge graph, if you can just find out the relevant passages with some augmentation, of course, and this is actually going back to the original information retrieval days, that Google search. This is what made Google, right? This nice information retrieval, that if you search for the word Dasharathi, it will figure it out from some other knowledge source that Dasharathi is equal to Ram. So it will also start searching for Ram. It will expand the query. So that has now given very good results. So that is so the question answering system is now, it is LLMs etc. do well, but when they hallucinate, in fact, something very interesting which I wanted to share to this group, especially Professor Bharatiya, etc. LLMs have apparently started creating slokas, and the way it does is it takes one pada, one slok, one pada from other slok, and it just puts it. So it's in the nice Anushtup Chanda. It apparently also makes some sense, and it looks like it's a real slok, but you cannot find it in the original Ramayana or anything. So it's a very interesting phenomenon that it is doing. I do not know what to do. We have to dig deeper into this. Yes. All right. Yeah.
Uh, Thank you, sir. So one more question from you only. So we have heard about micro devices. We have seen it also, which are doing real-time translation. So are we in India also working on building such devices which can do real-time translation for Indian languages, including Sanskrit? Are we thinking or putting efforts in that direction?
Right. I think given that the Amitabh Nag is there, he will be probably the best person to answer this question. My take on the whole translation problem and real-time translation problem is this, that most of our real-time translation needs are templatized. For example, you visit a new city where you do not know the language, you will ask, where is this shop? Where does this bus go? Where is my hotel? What is the price of this? These are very templatized, and this can be solved very well using the modern AI tools. If you actually just use even Google, etc., there is a speech to text and there is already translator and all of this. So the translation problem for modern day needs and even for governmental needs, again, because these are very templatized and this falls into a certain pattern, that can be probably solved in real time, as you were saying. The real hard part of translation comes when it comes to literature, or when there is a more subtlety involved in it, that what is the poetry and what does it actually can mean, this ambiguity that Professor Amba was talking about. So to answer your question, yes, these micro devices should be very successful, and it should be very useful in the context of day-to-day needs of most people. And given a linguistically diverse country like India, this should be extremely useful, because, as I said, if I go to a city where I do not know the language, if I have these things, I can make around most 90 to 95% of my job is going to be done. Of course, so for example, if I go to Tamil Nadu, I cannot read Tamil poetry using this, but I can go around in the city of Chennai, I can find out my way. And that will solve most of the day-to-day needs. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So I'll put the same question to Amitabh Nagji. What is your opinion? Are we actually have started working, or it is still in ideas only?
Yes, in the other languages, as far as conversational and real-time translation is concerned, it's happening. Sanskrit is still to be used, and this is being used in multiple ways. The number of use cases which are coming up has been multiple. I'll try to give some examples so that we understand what we are talking about. We do a conversational chatbot with farmers, which actually the farmer can ask about certain advisories, and the advisories are actually pulled out of the knowledge base and then answered back to him in his own language. So that's a full conversational piece which is there. The grievance redressal piece which is there, again, when we are trying to, the government has hundreds of schemes, and there can be multiple grievances against those schemes, and those again needs there is a requirement of people to actually put their grievance in the right category and then converse to figure out how to put it across, etc., etc. So those kind of things again have been kind of conversation, automated on a real time basis. You can actually put your grievance in a natural language, and this automatically gets categorized and put across in your own language, and then can move. We do call centers mostly have started using AI from a conversational perspective. They ask questions and then follow up questions, and Obviously, currently the questions are getting templatized, but there is an understanding which these agents are getting built up so that it is there. The issue is not about whether or should we do it. It's a question of how much data we are able to feed into the models which are there. And the models definitely are data hungry. The more the data you will give, uh, you know, to the model, the better it would be. And then it will start covering all the domains which are required for a conversational aspect. Unfortunately, currently, we haven't been able to give enough data. Leave aside Sanskrit, we haven't been able to give enough data in Hindi also. We should be basically looking at how do we build this up. Data is a very important activity, a public good which needs to get created, and it should encompass the model builders, give the model builders. Today, we are actually challenged by the fact that most of us have got into the paradigm of comparing models, forgetting that data is the oil to the models, and unless and until we create enough data which is actually given, there, we will be comparing wrong things, or we will be comparing the models prematurely. I think we have to launch and we have launched a very strong uh, campaign to build data through AI Kosh and otherwise. And there would be more such campaign which will come in the market soon. So that data is available as a public good, and that is being used by the model owners to create models, and the real creativity will start coming up then. So till then, we are of course doing a lot of use cases, proof of concepts, and doing it on a scale which I would say best known as small language models, to ensure that we are templatized, as Professor Arnab said, and we are using that particular aspect. But over a period of time, everybody should be looking at how much data we have created and how much data we have digitalized and how much data has been created as data sets so that it can be used by the models to build it up. And then we will perhaps be able to get into a discussion of which model to use or which model is better than what. We do have, multinationals comparing ChatGPT versus Gemini versus DeepSeek, etc., etc. But I think they are doing kids play as of now. It's like a toy play, which is seeking attention. But more or less, those tools are fed into the market, and they are camouflaging their effort to create data. So they are giving us some toy applications. There was, one image application which came in, which actually, because of its usage or because it was new, got 1 million images into the system, 1 billion images into the system. That was the estimate. Similarly, today the versions of OpenAI and ChatGPT, etc., are seeking or collecting open source data. They are giving some utility, but it is more to collect data rather than to actually say that I'm getting in. I think after 1 year or 2 years, when they have collected enough data, they would then be saying my model is better, and then perhaps it will be not 399 rupees, it will be 100,000 rupees or 200,000 rupees as such. So we all need to be careful here, and we all need to realize that if we have to, we should utilize all the tools which are there in the market, and obviously we all want our productivity to increase, but parallelly we should also realize that we need to basically ensure that the good work which has been done by most of the professors here needs to be out in the market, needs to be used, needs to be pushed to the people who are there, and they should use it and give feedbacks and give enough data to ensure that we have the sovereignty as far as the AI models are concerned. Otherwise, we would be lagging right behind.
So, how do you associate the real-time conversation systems with small devices, very small device? So carrying mobile for a real-time conversation may be little disappointing. So is there any project which has, or is there this idea in mind that we should have a small micro device which will give us the output of real-time translation?
Yes, the AI models are definitely getting miniaturized. You know, the form factors are coming down, and things are getting smaller and smaller. And we are examining a situation by which we can perhaps carry a locket or something like that, which can actually ensure that we do converse real time on the field. And actually, you don't need anything because my language is fixed. I speak one language, and that is what means we, of course, in the cohort of metros, we have been forced to learn many languages to succeed. But tier 2 cities or tier 3 cities, the person speaks one language, so the receiving language is one, while as the device has to automatically detect the other language and start translating. And that is what this device needs to do. Possibility is there, but we are still seeing how we can actually enable that to work. But yeah, means this thought process is there. We have already brought in the conversational aspect or a conversational aspect on the mobile through Bhashini app. If you have downloaded, there is a converse feature. October means next month, there will be another version of that, and that would actually focus on having the conversational part very strong. And it means currently, when you open a Bhashini app, you have about 5 applications which you see, and then you have to choose one. This will open up Converse as the primary application, and rest of it will be options. So, we would be strongly focused on that, and we would look at how do you build it up. And uh, obviously, we are not, means Bhashini as such is a project which is not using one model. It is actually, first, it had actually ensured that there are multiple projects who create multiple models. And now it has started embracing more open source models to be there so that we have options available to the customer, and we are acting as a platform which is delivering these models as service IDs through APIs, and this can be used to build multiple applications. So we have BharatJan also on our platform. We have Servam also on platform. All the models which are in open source, and we hope that many of these things will get into the market very soon. So yes, those all these things which we are talking about are there, and essentially our model is to do innovation challenges or hackathon rather than trying to build it ourselves. And in that regard, if anyone has an idea on that, we would be happy to look at a challenge to fund that in some way so that these kind of applications come into the market. A current speech-to-speech application has also come into the market through innovation challenge, and through partnerships. So that is how we are working.
Thank you. So next question is Professor Pawan Goyal. Can you please, so you have already mentioned about your projects related to computational linguistics. So how do you envision AI contributing to making Sanskrit more accessible globally?
Thanks for your question. I think that is the main objective behind the work, that how do you make Sanskrit more accessible globally? And in terms of this, I mean, we can think about who are the stakeholders. So one surely is are the researchers, right, who want to build applications on top of the code and data set that are available. So this is certainly happening. Many of us are releasing data sets on Sanskrit that people can use, build, and even models that people can use and build their applications. But then there are two users that are very, very particular to Sanskrit. So one are the people who are interested in learning the language. So who are the learners, they want to learn language. And as Dr. Nag was saying, it's not that when you want to learn language, you are reading some literature You don't want to just give a translation to them. You want them to also learn the language while you are reading the literature. I think the tools that are being developed at University of Hyderabad are along the same line. That when they are reading the text, can we provide a very detailed analysis? Like what are the individual words involved in this text? Can you map them to their translation across languages? Can you see what is the connection between words? If it is a poetry form, can I convert it to prose? Right? So can we do Anvaya on the fly? Then applications like what Professor Anna was mentioning. This is very, very important that they have certain questions. Can we build search and question answering modules that are very robust, right, that are not hallucinating? And very importantly, when they give the answer, can they also bring back the particular text from which the answer has come, right? Maybe as a manuscript image or something that I have got the answer, this is the reference from which I have got the answer. That will be very, very helpful. And I think this is what I believe would be one way in which this can be taken globally. There are also scholars who, I think as Dr. Aditya Maheshwari mentioned, but we're also trying to talk to the scholars and see what features of AI will help them to use these tools much more than what they're doing right now. And this is one thing. For example, they are interested in questions like, you have a particular concept, and where does this concept occur across all the literature of Sanskrit, and in what across darshanas, right? So what is the interpretation of this? Can an AI model read through entire gamut of literature and give it a very detailed answer, like interpretations from various philosophical traditions and also ideologies? So this can be something that even the traditional scholars feel would be helpful and may also increase the reach of the AI tools.
I think there is an outage at IIT Roorkee.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I just heard from Professor Anil Gorishetty, they have lost power, so it will take them 1 or 2 minutes to get back. He has requested that all of us please stay back. I think, yeah, they are back. Yeah.
So we still have this power connection issue in the building. But I think we can manage in the room with the help of mobile hotspots. Please continue answering the question. Repeat the question.
I think we can shut off our videos to save bandwidth right now. Maybe once its power is back. Yeah.
Yeah. So Professor Pavan Goyal, so question was, how do you envision AI contributing to making Sanskrit more accessible globally? Please answer the question.
Thank you, Professor Sharma. Actually, I answered, but maybe I understand the power had gone at the same time. So I'll try to answer that again. So, as I was mentioning that, in the work, what many of us are doing is to create a lot of data models for tackling various Sanskrit NLP tasks. Right? And they are also available at various platforms such as Sansadhani, Sanskrit Heritage site from Enrich Bharat, and many other websites overall. And people have been interacting with that, and that has surely increased the reach for Sanskrit. In terms of the models and data sets that have been developed, the research community globally is also now using those models and creating new applications. So I said there are two specific use cases that I was seeing that are very particular to Sanskrit. One are the learners, so those who are learning, and typically the way they learn is by also reading certain Sanskrit literature. Now, when they are reading Sanskrit literature, one thing is that we can directly provide them the translation to that, but that doesn't help so much with the learning process. So what helps, what is better is that with the text, Sanskrit text that they are learning, they're also provided with more detailed analysis, like what are the individual words involved and what is the grammatical analysis in terms of morphology, compounds, even dependency parsing. Then if it is a verse, can we convert that to Anvaya form? Can we do Anvaya of the verse? And many different grammatical insights that can be provided when they are also reading that can make them interested. The second thing is about being able to search this large repository of Sanskrit text. In terms of search as well as question answering. So that is another very important use case. And that is not only for the normal users, but also for scholars. So for scholars, when we try to interact, what kind of features of AI they would be interested in using. This is one of the features that they mentioned, that if they want to know how a particular concept has been presented in the vast gamut of Sanskrit literature across darshanas. So can an AI tool consolidate this across the literature and find and present it nicely, like a scholar will do? So can an AI tool be built for doing this task, like summarization from, say, whole lot of manuscripts, finding the information, then summarizing, presenting. And even, I mean, I think the initial few points that Dr. Abhishek mentioned about how do we make this more interesting, like can we make it gamified, can we make the Sanskrit learning gamified through AI, and would that be something that would help increase the interest among learners for Sanskrit? So these are the few points that come to my mind.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Pavan. So now we are opening the session for the audience. So we are having people in the room, so they can ask.
Namaste, sir. I'm a PhD scholar here in IIT Roorkee. I'm researching in the domain of urban design and looking it through the lens of Indian knowledge system from Shilpa Shastra. As I didn't know Sanskrit when I joined PhD, so I'm started learning Sanskrit and trying to read those texts from those primary sources. But it is taking some time. So as an idea, I wish to give that, like in the Google Lens, we can translate by scanning through the image. So can we have any such device in the goggles, like smart specs, that technology which will help to read those texts directly, matlab, translate those texts when we wear the specs, like in Lenskart have already brought that product in the market, but they are not having that technology of Google Lens technology, but smart specs is already launched in the market. So can the technology of Google Lens be incorporated in that specs, and we can use that and help, which will help us to read Shastras much more fast?
Probably Professor Aditya can take the question.
Yeah, so currently the technology we are developing at Bharat is fundamental technology, and this smart lens is an integration thing. So as an organization, we are currently not looking into this because delivering into one tech for say variables requires a different thing. We don't have the bandwidth as well as the mandate to do that. But we have this mandate of developing an ecosystem where these technologies can be delivered. So for that, we are partnering, talking to various companies, Indian companies, foreign companies. We are conducting Bharat summits, and we are going into summits so that cross technology research and technological delivery can handshake. So at present, at Bharat or means we are working in the core language, speech, and vision models. Delivering solution and technology is not is in our immediate future, and we require the help of all the startups and the old and companies also to come forward and deliver these kind of products and services to the customer.
Any other question?
Good evening to all, sir. Sir, my question is like transformer-like architectures, which are the backbones of most LLMs, were initially developed with European and Sanskrit languages in mind. Since Sanskrit is morphologically rich and positionally independent, do you think transformer-based models are still suitable, or should we consider some alternative approach better aligned with its structures?
So, Professor Arnab, please answer.
I think this is a very, very important point. It's a very, very good question. You are absolutely right. See, the whole transformer methodology is predicting the next word. If I simplify it, dumbify it very, very much. Given that the Indian languages are not so much rigid on word order, so you have to question the fundamental premise of it, that whether predicting the next word is good enough. So, of course, there are issues that we see, and then there are also issues in the form of what we call the tokenization. The tokenization, that is that the transformers use, are all statistical tokenization based methods. So it comes down again fundamentally to the question is that when we say there is a word, how do we define what a word is, and how do we capture it automatically? The statistical tokenization techniques that the current transformers use, most of them, they do not go to the semantics of a word. They just find out the most frequent sequence of characters, and that is what they call a token, and that is what it approximates a word. So again, there are fundamental questions of how good that is, how far can you get it with languages like Sanskrit, especially where there is a lot of sandhi and samas. It breaks down. We have seen multiple instances where it really cannot capture that. In fact, in fact, what we have done is we have one work on Samanvay, which is for this language unity. What we have seen is even in Hindi, where you separate out the vibhakti from the word, when you say Ram blank ne blank Ravan ko mara, that Ram and ne is separated out as tokens. It loses the meaning because together it should be Ram ne as one word group, what we call. So the processing of this needs some fundamental interventions to this. So one thing, and this is a great question in the sense that one thing that we may think is that, of course, data is a problem for Indian languages, for India. But my sense is just having a lot of data may not solve all the issues because of these fundamental things that are left. So we need to look at language from the theories of Indian languages, Shabdabodh, Amma madam mentioned, etc. Can we build those into the AI? Is a real deep question. Many of us, Professor Pawan Goel, many of us are working on that. But that's actually an extremely important question. We do not know the answer to it yet. There are different ways that we are trying to do it. But that is something very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my question is to Professor Arnabolli. I'm Professor Jitin in Computer Science and Biosciences Department here at IIT Roorkee. So recently I saw a paper on BIT5 Sanskrit model,
Yeah.
which is, kind of a token-free character level model. And then they trained it on Indic LLM suite dataset and a couple of other small datasets. And it seems to outperform most of the state-of-the-art models on either post-OCR correction or translation, and a lot of annotation tasks also. So you just mentioned about tokenization and everything. I was surprised that at a character level itself, it is kind of outperforming most of the existing models. So any comments on that?
Right. So I think there are two reasons why that Sanskrit byte T5 model is so successful. One is because it's a byte T5. So T5 is a very good architecture that we have seen for, I work for Bangla also and all of this. We have seen that the T5 architecture, first of all, is very good. Second, because it's byte T5, it actually takes away tokenization. The statistical tokenization thing is, well, I should not use the word takes away, but it what do you call it? It nullifies the effect of this statistical tokenization to a great extent. The other important thing which probably people have missed out on this is the effect of corpus. So the corpus, the Sanskrit corpus on which these models were built is actually extremely rich. I am, and Professor Pawan Goel can correct me, is that there are no other Sanskrit models which are built on, which uses any corpus that is richer than what they have built. So whether the effect is because of the byte T5 tokenization or the byte T5 architecture or the corpus or all three of them combined, it's not clear.
But the corpus they use is the corpus they use is this Indian LLM suite, right? It's a publicly available corpus.
Yeah, but it uses the Sanskrit thing, right? It uses a lot of Sanskrit data. It has their own Sanskrit corpus. So I can tell you that my own experience with Bangla T5 is that the corpus is the most important thing, followed by the architecture and the tokenization. But I cannot say exactly what has been done for Sanskrit by T5. This is my hunch.
Yeah. And just one quick follow-up, maybe Professor Aditya can answer it. So most of the Sanskrit literature we have in a machine-readable format is in prose format, right? Chanda format. Either it's Mahabharata, Purana. It's in a poetry format.
Poetry.
But so just if we imagine that maybe training a small llama model only on Shakespeare data set will not be a very good LLM in itself for English also, right? So how do we see that? Because essentially we need a lot of paragraph, simple in Sanskrit texts also, not just this poetic text for an effective conversational, translational, or LLM kind of usage.
I'm not sure about means most, but I think apart from the when it is in prose format, there are lots and lots of commentaries that has been written and hidden from the published material. That needs to be explored. And I guess partial answer to your question lies in the Professor Arnab's work, where he's generating more and more prose with some rules and sets. I think both of the techniques together with we can overcome with the scarcity of the data available for training in this area.
So one last question from. So I have one question from Professor Amba Kulkarni. Ma'am, there is a belief or just a fear that computational approaches may oversimplify the depth of Sanskrit grammar. So what is your thought on this? Ma'am, you are muted, please.
You are on mute.
Let us first try to see when we say AI, actually this intelligence has various dimensions. Earlier, when we were using the word AI, the intelligence actually referred to the logical intelligence, and we know that the epitome of this intelligence is in the IBM's chess blue chip, which bet Gary Kasparov in sometimes in 1997 or so. And then the focus of the intelligence changed from logic to linguistics, language. So linguistic intelligence is what we are now looking at. And as far as the linguistic intelligence is concerned, what I feel is what is more important now for training AI engines is prompt engineering is one of the things where we need to provide appropriate prompts so that uh, machine can give better answers. So what we should know is how the language codes information, and what are the basic fundamentals of that particular subject, and then we need to train the engine appropriately. So the prompt engineering needs expertise in that particular domain, and here is where the knowledge of Sanskrit grammar and the Sanskrit theories of Shabdabodha are going to be helpful. So though Sanskrit codes the information compactly, it also tells us how it has coded the information, like Dasharathi, the example which was given by Professor Arnav. Uh, any Sanskrit student who has studied grammar will know what this Dasharathi mean. So now the issue is, how do we use this kind of information which is there uh, in the grammar to train the machines. So for example, we can build prompts based on the three basic questions: where exactly is the information in the text, and we should also know whether the information is directly encoded or not, and how this information is encoded. And if we can guide the machine by providing specific prompts using these three principles, three questions, I'm sure we can have better AI engines. So what we need to know is, especially our Mimamsa Shastra discusses about when we need to get the information, what are the parameters, or where the information is coded, and how to give priority to which information may be coded various levels, and which through various parameters, and which parameters to be used. So if we uh, earlier there was a mention that the Gurukula students, we need to get them, we need their participation in this. And I'm sure the Gurukula students definitely will, if they are roped in into such things, they will do a very good job of providing various prompts, uh, appropriate prompts, I would say. So, in that sense, though Sanskrit itself codes the information very compactly, Sanskrit grammar and theories provide us clues as to where and how this information is coded, and if and these specific the information is not specific to Sanskrit. We can use that knowledge for other languages also. We need to be a little uh, we need to see exactly is specific to Sanskrit and what part of it is general enough, and then we can use the information which is general enough for across all languages. So prompt engineering is one of the things. Another thing where Sanskrit knowledge actually can play an important role is, uh, as I said, chess is the epitome of uh, logical intelligence. And here, for languages, the Ashtavadhani or Shatavadhani is going to be an epitome of linguistic intelligence. A person who is Shatavadhani or Ashtavadhani, he uses various aspects of language, such as he solves puzzles, he creates a poetry, he answers various questions, uh, grammatical as well as general literature related and many other things simultaneously. So he is using language, knowledge of language, and the literature which he has read, the poetries which he has read, the metrical, the meter, the chandas which he has studied, or various alankaras which he has studied. All this knowledge he uses and creates a, a wonderful uh, piece of text which not only pleases us but also answers various questions simultaneously, which are uh, knowledge based, which also require intelligence, which uh, has puzzles in it and all that. So uh, we let us see if we can build some kind of Shatavadhani engine or Ashtavadhani engine for that matter, to see how far uh, machine can go. So here the Sanskrit knowledge system, the Indian language theories, Indian linguistic tradition is providing us some kind of a benchmark to see how far the linguistic intelligence of machine has reached. So with this I stop.
Okay, so with this, I can conclude that it is just a fear, and which may be a baseless fear, that AI will oversimplify Sanskrit grammar or any other Indian language grammar. So I thank all the panelists to be part of this session, and with this I hand over stage to our coordinator Yogita. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Professor Shrinivasa Varakhedi ji to give his insights about the discussion.
सर्वेभ्यो नमो नमः। संस्कृतोत्सव संदर्भे IIT रूर्की संस्थायाः संस्कृतमित्रैः सम्भूय एषः कार्यक्रमः आयोजितः। अस्मिन् कार्यक्रमे सर्वेषामपि मम अभिनन्दनानि। Here all are AI experts and they are also practitioners. Professor Arnab Bhattacharya from IIT Kanpur developed a Sanskrit question answer system, and Professor Pavan Goyal, whom I know for many years, runs Sanskrit Shala and his intelligent system on Sanskrit grammar. And of course, Professor Amma Kurani, who is my teacher, and she is the pioneer in this field, and who developed some Sadhani toolkit for Sanskrit. And of course, based on Paninian grammar. Today we had great panel, including Amitabh Nag from Bhashini. And Bhashini, of course, is a wonderful tool which is which works in many languages. And Sanskrit, of course, is a kind of their base. And Aditya Maheshwari, whom I know for his efforts in Bharatjan, and who advocated for Sanskrit collaboration with Sanskrit institutions and also from students from Gurukula. So after listening to all these experts, so my role is to not to teach anything, but to learn something from them. And of course, as a student of Sanskrit and Sanskrit related machine translation systems and natural language processing, I learned a lot. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, Professor Gauri Shetty. I think here in this audience, I could see there are so many enthusiast students from IT and also from other disciplines, and of course Sanskrit scholars also are present. What is my take here? Couple of things which I don't repeat what has been said by my colleagues in the panel. Instead, I just, what is my takeaway, that I enlist a couple of them and then share my thoughts. In the field of Sanskrit, in traditional Sanskrit pathshalas, when I have interacted with them, of course, not only Sanskrit fraternity, but in other language fraternities also, AI is seen as a challenge. And sometimes they consider that AI could be an opponent. This is the situation. I'm coming from that background. But for last 3 decades or more than that, we have faced many challenges. Many tools have come up, and even the advancement of computer was not a small challenge. And advancement of computer was, of course, taken as our advantage. I mean, today it is an advantage. And all the fields, there is no field which is left out from using computers. And computers are not are machines. I mean, they are calculation. They are basically they are starting from small calculators today we have very big processing machines. What is this AI? People, we have not understood. Basically, it is if though let us consider it's a challenge, okay, but this challenge makes us very strong. Unless we face such challenges, we don't make ourselves strong. I mean, this is very good challenge for us, because we human beings try to become more powerful than the machines. Okay, this is how human tendency. I mean, always that's the human tendency. Therefore, AI for me, it's a very good and a very powerful assistant. Therefore language people, I mean language people and linguists, the field of linguistics and whatever, all these fields should really use this like a horse, like a man has used elephants, man has used horses, and man will use AI machine also. And of course, man is very powerful. Therefore, we should see them as a very powerful tools. And the power of AI, makes us very strong and very powerful. But today, the points which are placed before us, these are all practitioners. They are very much into the practice. And I have seen the days from the, small tools, very, very prototype kind of tools. And I have seen expert systems and rule-based language analysis. And today, from rule-based language analysis to data-driven, large language model machines. So we have seen the history. And there today, what I've understood is many of our colleagues, Professor Amba Kulkarni and Professor Arnab, Professor Pawan, all of them have reassured that our rule-based systems will be benefited from the large language models. I mean, there is an addition. I mean, definitely this will make us, already our systems are running well and they are helping people, and they were while building them, people have used all their shastra jnana and rules and their computational skills, and now these systems are not going to be waste, and they will be benefited from these large language models. Therefore, everyone has argued for synergy of expert system and intelligent machines. The synergy is required, and we need to look for synergy. Expert systems, as I understood, expert system cannot be replaced with these intelligent machines. There is no such replacement is not possible, because once you replace them, and you will have again a machine which starts giving you a very, very weak answers. And therefore we should really use the power of intelligent machine to enhance the power of expert system. This is what I understood today. So this is an additional advantage, and this is a really boon for expert system to enhance its power. If AI generic machines, whether they are going to help us, till now we are not sure. Very generic systems will not, because we have seen the Google, we have seen the search engines, very wonderful search engines, but still those wonderful search engines have failed to give us the answers that we intend to get, right? So the last 10, 12 years, we are working in the intelligent search engines. But today, most of the very generic search engines have failed. again we have to go for domain specific search engines. When this is the case, similarly AI machines, very generic machines, are going to fail. Therefore, we need to come back to the domain specific expert systems, where that will help us to understand the get the real time real solutions. So this is where we have now stopped. So basically, one thing is what AI machines can offer to Sanskrit, and in general for language understanding. That's one part. So there we have heard Abhishek Singh saying that AI power to promote language learning, translation, gamification, summarization. We need question answer systems. For all these purposes, we can use the power of AI machines, AI systems. But today's discussion should also look at the power of Sanskrit. As a scholar of Sanskrit, I would say, if you want to refine your thinking, or if you want to refine your languages, you need some standard language patterns which will clean up your it creates samskara for languages. Sanskrit is not just language, it enhances the samskara of other languages. So it is samskara datri bhasha. That's where I look at Sanskrit. Oh, Sanskritam gives sanskara to others. So according to me, if Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, all these languages, when they get the sanskara from Samskrita, slowly they become Samskrita. One day, it's a Sanskrit is not the source language. It is a Laksha Bhasha. I mean, ultimately, everyone should go and reach that. In that sense, Sanskrit need not be the just language, another language. And the second point I would like to make is Sanskrit. What Sanskrit can offer. So I don't know how the experts in AI builders use this power, but I have guts to say that these are the three important factors we need to consider while building AI systems. One is, for at least for to retain the Indian cultural ethos, Indian cultural heritage in the AI systems, domain specific AI system, at least when it gives answers for the questions about India's thinking, then definitely we need to have AI domain specific AI systems built on the basis of three things. One, Sanskrit knowledge architect. It requires knowledge architecture. This architecture, Sanskrit will give the architecture. This architecture could be a very good base for the AI thinking machine. I mean, it can think, it can really think like an Indian sage, so that it can answer in a perfect way. And the second point is the two important factors. One is epistemological ontological categories. If we lose these epistemological ontological categories of Sanskrit Shastras, we may lose the logical connection between the Indian thinking. I mean, the questions and answers will have lot of experiences. Those experiences are captured by these Indian categories. So if these categories are missing, if they are just expressed in any other language, the basic structure and the categories, these two are major factors in building the AI thinking machines. Therefore, what Sanskrit can offer a knowledge architecture and epistemological and ontological categories. These are all natural in Sanskrit language. Therefore, Panini has used them. Ayurveda system has used Sanskrit, and mathematics use Sanskrit. So most of all these Indian knowledge systems have used Sanskrit as for this purpose. Therefore, I request my colleagues in AI systems and who are building them should really look into these aspects and then build the AI system based on this. The other part, which of course people would sometimes, yeah, एक कहानी है, वशिष्ठ वासिष्ठ योग वासिष्ठ का कहानी है. इस कहानी में आई डोंट रिकॉल नाउ why Acharya Vinit Chaitanya ji used to tell us about Rakshasa, story of Rakshasa. And of course, today we have seen even the Devas are not so powerful actually. Rakshasas are very powerful. And even Deva and Danava both are not powerful. Rakshasas are very powerful. And these Rakshasas, they are very powerful, but they will take the side of Devas or side of the Danavas. Okay. And then Danava Shakti or Deva Shakti will increase. So sometimes when the Rakshasas come inside with the side of the Devas, then Deva Shakti will increase. Okay. Now with these, Rakshasas don't have any, neither they are bad nor they are good. Okay. They are Rakshasas. Don't consider that Rakshasas are bad. No, they are not bad. They are very good. Sometimes they become good, sometimes they become bad. Because Rakshasas are only powerful. They're so, like Brahma Rakshasa is a very powerful person. If he is a disciple of a great Rishi, then he will act like that. If he is a disciple of, or he comes under the control of some demon, and he will act like that. Normally, Devas don't use, because Rakshasa Shakti is too much power, they don't want to use. Devas don't use too much power. Okay, they always go with Sattvika Shakti. That's the nature, because they believe that Sattvika Shakti is good, Mantra Shakti is good. So this Rakshasa Shakti is always used by Dhanavas. This is we are learning from our ancient text. I'm not making you, afraid of this Rakshasa. This is Buddhi Rakshasa has come. It's like from Rakshasa, another kind of Rakshasa, Buddhi Rakshasa. And this Buddhi Rakshasa is virtually it can create so many things, but it lacks a lot of feeling, trust. And once I said, these no tool cannot replace a good teacher. Go and see one beautiful video by Sundar Pichai, who offers his respect to his teacher, Moli teacher. And you can Google and you will get it. Moli teacher Sundar Pichai. And he says the trust that she has shown to him, a boy who is hopeless boy became a powerful boy. This human touch, that is really human touch, cannot be brought by any machine, any tool. So humans are not tools, they are humans. Therefore, today AI, of course, AI, we should use them as a good Rakshasa. Rakshasa are to be used because they are powerful. We can achieve so many things. But while using them, we should really look for Sattva Shakti. And that Sattva Shakti is in thinking. I mean, in original thinking. There, coming to my Shastras, I always consider that our Shastras will always caution us, because today's machine may have Smriti and Vega, very powerful, very it has got huge memory, but it may or may not bring insight. So insights are available only with the experiential person, right? These insights cannot be coded in the machine. Insights are insights. Therefore, insights can be shared through many ways. Therefore, my humble request is that we will use this. And of course, Sanskrit has a lot to offer, and Sanskrit fraternity has to work to get this Rakshasa for enriching their power, enhancing their power. But somewhere we should have a while having synergy, we should have a balance. Thank you very much. and sometimes it is philosophical. My talk is philosophical. Sometimes it is practical. Whatever you want to learn, you learn, and you take these. I mean, today's it was very much helpful for me to understand AI machine. Central Sanskrit University, as part of these projects, would like to participate and would like to take your lessons from your side, experiences from your side, and expertise of we would like to use your expertise, and let us continue to work in this field. Thank you very much. Dhanyavadah. Gauri Shetty Mahodaya.
Dhanyavadah Mahoday. Now I would like to hand over to Professor Anil Kumar Gauri Shetty Mahoday for a vote of thanks.
Arna Mahodaya, Shurvate va? So it is extremely a pleasure to have you all here. So Adaraniyaha Adyatana Karakramasya Athitayaha Mama Priyamitrani Chhatraha Cha Aham Asmin Karakrame Dhanyavadam Jnapayitum Atyantam Gauravam Anubhavami. Samskrita Parishat Pakshataha Sarvadau Aham Dhanyavadan Samarpayitum Ichchami. Atitavaryabhyaha Asmakam Bharatiya Praudhyogiki Samsthayaha Dean Mahodayaha Dr. Naveen Navani Mahodayaha Upastitaha Tebhyaha Dhanyavadan Samarpayami. Asmakam Prarthanam Angikritya Mukhyavakta Rupena Atra Samupastitaha Shri Abhishek Singh Mahodayaha Punaha Adhyaksha Rupena Upastitaha Acharya Srinivasa Varakhedi Mahodaya hai, with whom IIT Roorkee has been maintaining a special relationship for the last about 7 to 8 years. Sanchalika Rupena Upastitaha Dr. Raksha Sharma Mahodayaha Tebhyaha Vishesha Dhanyavada Kusuman Vitanomi. Ye panelist Asmin Karykrame Bhagagrahanam Kritavantah Dr. Amba Mahodaya, Dr. Arnab Mahodayaha, Dr. Pavan Mahodayaha, Dr. Aditya Mahodayaha, Shri Amitabh Nag Mahodayaha, Tebhyaha Sarvebhyaha Vishesha Dhanyavadan Samarpayitum.
So again, they are out.
I think there is. I think there is some network issue, or maybe Paul is not there.
Yes, will now switch off.
Yeah.
Yeah, nowadays this due to weather condition, even in Delhi we face small issues with the electricity. I don't know what's happening.
Correct. But I must take this opportunity to just thank all of you. I mean, this is a very interesting panel. He is not out. This is my chance to express thanks to all of you.
The questions were very good, and when the answers were coming from really various experiences. That's really great.
I think there was some issue with the power. I think. Can you hear me, Varakhedi Mahodaya? Okay. So, vote of thanks is done. Thank you everyone for joining us and sharing your ideas and thoughts. I'm sure our volunteers have really got a lot of ideas from your things.